Hey, welcome to this video. In this video, we will create our first C++ project. Now, as I mentioned, this module is all about how we can program basic gameplay elements using C++, or a combination of C++ and blueprints. So what we want to do is we want to create a new C++ project, and for that I'll launch the Unreal Engine here. Of course, you can also launch a particular version from the Epic Games launcher. This is the Unreal Engine 5.0 release, so the first stable release. To the left, we can create different sorts of projects in Unreal Engine. It is used for architecture, automotive visualization, and so forth, design, and so forth. We want to create a game. Now, this is going to be a sort of playground for us to experiment in. It's not going to be a specific project. We just want to learn the basics. We want to get used to programming in C++ in Unreal Engine, using actors and so forth, so those essential classes. We need to learn about what is available to us. That is in the module Unreal Engine 5 C++ 101. In the next lesson, we will actually do a small project, an Apple Picker project, and that is where we'll introduce user input, so input from the keyboard. We will move a paddle around and catch some apples falling down from a tree. But in this project, again, we are not concerned really with anything specific, but I also don't really want to start with blank, because there are certain things that I would like to cover in this first lesson here, such as moving platforms and so forth. And it would be nice if we could jump on those platforms and stuff like that. So for that reason, instead of starting with blank, you can start with the first person or the third person. Now this is actually going to be C++, not blueprints. So I'll just select first person here actually. Again, it gives you a basic description of what is included with that. I will select C++ instead of blueprints. If you start off by creating a C++ project, certain classes will be generated for you that you may or may not want. Okay, sometimes you want to set up the path, so the location of those classes, and also their names, so what they are called and all of that stuff. You want to set those up from scratch by yourself. In that case, you can actually start with a blueprint project and then convert that later on to C++. That simply means that if you start with blueprints, you'll have a much cleaner project, and you can then convert that to a C++ project. And it's easier to start from scratch in that way, to then specify your directory and your locations for your C++ classes and stuff like that. So you can have one folder for your actors, that is for your C++ classes that are actors, pawns and so forth, game modes maybe. But you can have certain issues with that, and because of that, we will start off by creating a C++ project, and then later on in the course I will show you how you can convert a blueprint project to C++. But that's actually a fairly easy process. You simply select blueprint here, create the project, and then you simply go and add a C++ class. That'll then generate the Visual Studio solution for you and stuff like that. But again, I'll just start with C++ here, first person, and I will choose the target platform. Doesn't really matter all that much. I'll select desktop, then maximum, for example. You can select starter content if you want. I actually won't check to add the starter content for this particular project, because the first person template already ships with some assets. So I want to check that. I also want to check ray tracing, and I'll select my location, give this a name. Remember, with project names that special characters are not allowed. If you try and name this project my first C++ project or something like that by using actual plus characters, then you will get an error here. So I often do this. Instead of using the plus character, I do C, capital C. We're using Pascal case here, CPP for C++ of course. I will name this project CPP Experiments, and I will go and click Create. The engine should now attempt to open the project, but it will also create and open the Visual Studio solution for us. If it does not open up Visual Studio, that's fine. We can always go and open that up later on. Observe that this is now going to open up the editor and Visual Studio. It says project file is out of date. I'll just click Update here, and that's fine. And if we go to the content drawer, we actually have a folder C++ classes, and you can see that this actually comes with a couple of classes now. We are not really concerned with the first person setup for this, such as the player movement and projectiles and all of that stuff, but we just want to use, so if I click play here, F11, all we are concerned with is that we have a character that we can move around, and we can later on we can create some sort of a platform that moves around, and then maybe we can jump from one of these over to the next area and stuff like that. So we have some platforms to jump around on and so forth. simply because the blank project is really not that interesting. And as always, if you have the Epic Games Launcher open, for example, you can go and right click here on the project in the My Project section, and you can create a shortcut on the desktop, and that's an easy way to go and open that. You can also, actually if I right click on this and show in folder, I'll just do that, then you also have the solution here. In other words, for a quick way to get to the solution for this project, you can simply right click on the project here in the Epic Games Launcher, and then you can show in folder. That being said, you can also go to Tools and then open Visual Studio. Okay, and that will then open Visual Studio. If that is closed, notice that we have two things here. We have the engine project, and then we have the games project where our project is going to live. We also have the solution up here. The name of the solution by default is going to reflect our project name. And then under that, you have your source code. There's a project ships with some source code to get started off with, such as a pickup component, you have a projectile, you have a game mode, and so forth. We will discuss more of this stuff. Actually, in future lessons, we are not really concerned with most of this stuff to get started off with. Again, this is just to have that basic mechanic of being able to run around and stuff like that, so we can jump on platforms and so forth. But in upcoming videos, we will start to learn about actors and how we can set those up in C++. The purpose of this project, again, is just to have a single project where we can go and experiment with various things instead of creating a new project every time we want to test some code.